And our very first slide up here, you'll see what, and you notice, David, I did correct the spelling of your name. It's Advanced Formulations with David Velasco and Dispenza. For those of you that are not aware of it, David and I have been friends and working together for more than, what, 30 years, David?
It's been 35 years.
Yeah. We literally grew up in the industry together. From his days at Wella, from then at Bumble, from doing Hair Color USA, doing the other ones, whatever they all were. But we have a lot that we've been doing, and we've been working together now for with Chromastics for a little bit of time. And I think I finally hooked David on Chromastics. He's pretty much converting everything over to it. So anyway, here we go with Advanced Formulations with David Velasco and Tom Dispenza. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to do all sorts of things: alter formulas, lighten formulas, deepen formulas, create different shades, create different tonal families, and how to use concentrates, how to think about hair color differently. And that David and I, even though we both use the same hair color line, Chromastics, we formulate differently, we treat hair differently, and we get to the same place we want to be, but we get there in our own way, which is a simple way of saying there's no one single right way to do anything. There's multiple ways to get to where you want to be, but we're going to try and make it as easy as possible for you, and as interesting as we can. So let's get started right now, and we'll start with the very first slide, which is how to lighten a formula. Now notice what it says here. And David is going to pick up after the first 3 slides. David's going to come in with one of his charts and explain all of this a second time, but his way. So the first thing is, when I want to lighten a hair color formula, I lighten it a couple of different ways. First of all, for instance, if I'm using a 4N and I want to make it a lighter version of 4N, I might throw some 10N into it. When it mixes up, remember that it will lighten it about approximately 1/2 of a level with every 15 grams that you add either of a lighter color, a clear, or a different tone to your formula. So if I'm using 4N and I add 1/2 ounce or 15 grams of 10N to it, I'm going to go from a 4 to approximately a 5 if I don't want to go a full level lighter. The second way you see up there is to add XL cream. Now XL cream is the same base as your regular hair color, except that because there's no color in it whatsoever, it simply lightens the shade. But notice what I say right here at the end. It doesn't change the chromaticity. Now by that I mean it doesn't make it a brighter version of itself. If you want to have a slightly more chromatically brilliant, so you do want to lighten the chromaticity, then what you do is you switch and you go with XL Super. Now why would XL Super do this and not XL Cream? Because XL Cream is the same base as you're already using, whereas XL Super has a higher ammonia content, 3%, which means that now you're creating a lighter underlying pigment or contributing pigment, and by creating a lighter version of that, what you're doing is you're making it warmer. When you add warmth, it increases the chromaticity of the color. Now, before I go on to the next one, David, and before you take over, does that make perfect sense to you? Or is it a little confusing?
No, Tom, I think another way to put that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that by using the XL Super, you're actually getting a slight bit of lift. So that lift is what makes the color pop, so to speak. That lift is what's going to bring out a little bit more warmth, a little bit more brightness.
Well, you're diluting the color. So you're not only are you might a tiny bit of lightening, additional lightening, but you're diluting the actual amount of color, and therefore it becomes a lighter version of itself. I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay.
Next slide. How to deepen a formula. Now, this is very interesting. There's 3 different ways that I like to do it. When I want to deepen a color formula, I simply use a deeper shade in the same tonal family. In other words, if I'm using 4 neutral, and I always jump to 4 neutral because it's one of those really common, we use a lot of color shades. If I'm using 4N and I want to deepen it slightly, but using another neutral shade, then I would simply add to it a small amount of 3N. So 4N plus perhaps 4, 5, 6, 7 grams of 3N will keep it a deeper shade, but in the same tonal family. The second way to deepen a formula is if you're using neutrals, is to add neutral concentrate to it, or if you're using golds, add gold concentrate to it. When you run into the reds, the red oranges, and the red violets, then you have 2 RO and 2 RV to add to darken those shades. But then notice the third one here, which is a little different. And that's decreasing the amount of developer by 15 grams. And here's what it is. So if I'm using 2 ounces of any level of color, and I want to make that color slightly deeper, or in other words of saying it is increasing the dye load, but not changing the color itself, you do that by using 15 grams less of developer, but you still use the 60 grams of color. So in other words, here where it says 15 grams, decrease the amount, which means you do 60 grams of color and 45 grams of developer. I should have probably written that, 45 grams of developer. And that increases the depth of your color. And then the third one, now how to create chocolate browns. For any of you that were a little late, by the way, we're recording this and it will go tomorrow. It'll be online and everyone will be able to watch the entire thing from the very beginning and stop and go and listen and send us questions as you go. And here we have how to create chocolate browns. And chocolate browns are kind of interesting because you always begin with chocolate browns using either a neutral or a gold. Once you have your neutral or your gold, you add to it 7 grams of level 4 red orange or level 4 red violet. David will explain in just a second here why we choose those 2. And then the next way of doing it is by adding red concentrate. So, and that's when you're using here, it says if I'm using level 2 color, so notice here up here I said when I'm using level 3 or 4, I can add 4RO or 4RV. Down here, if I'm working with level 2 color, which is 2N, then what I want to do is I want to add 4 grams of red concentrate. Now, I'm going to turn it over to David for a second here, and David is going to pull this chart. David, I want you to take over and explain how to use this chart, and we'll make it available to everyone.
Okay, can you see my cursor?
Not yet.
You know, Tom, click on my name there. Make sure you may be the presenter.
I did, because you're on.
Okay. All right. Well, if you can't see my cursor,
go back to your name again. Yeah, you're a presenter.
Okay. Okay. In any case, if you can see my cursor, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Basically, what this is one page out of what we put together, we call the Quick Start Guide. And the reason I put this guide together initially is because, you know, when I first started using chromatics, you know, I was reading and studying the manual, the technical manual that Tom wrote, which is very thorough and has a lot of, you know, great information on exactly how to use every single part of the line. But the one thing that I realize, and speaking for myself, is that I think in pictures, I don't think in words. So for me, whenever I think of something, I kind of put a graphic image in my mind. So I put together this for those of you that are kind of like me, that you rather see little pictures than read a lot of words. Although you got to read the words because you got to really know what you're doing. Obviously, I'm not saying that this is definitely not a replacement for the technical manual, but it's in addition to the technical manual. So this is basically a graphic illustration of what Tom just explained to you, whereby we're talking about the neutral series. So at the top here, you see this is called the neutral series at the top.
I'm moving my cursor for following your words, David.
Okay. At the very we start this in the very center where it says starting the neutral shades. So you always look at the center, and this is the base color that we're doing. And from there, you want to if you want to go lighter, you can go up, go straight up the center where it says same intensity, lighter level. And you can, like Tom just said, you can add a lighter shade to the one you're working with, or you can indeed just go to a different level altogether. And by same token, if you want to go deeper, you just go straight down, all the way down to where it says use darker levels, same base. So the straight up and down in the center is basically your colors the way we get them from Chromastics. Now, the great thing about the Chromastics line is that we can alter this color in many different ways. So for example, like Tom just said a few minutes ago, if you want to make this neutral shade, again, starting from the center, if you want to make it lighter, more translucent, we go to the upper left-hand corner here where it says less intense. And that's what he just said. You can mix it with up to a ½ ounce of the XL cream to dilute this color or to make it more translucent. All right. And then we can go back to the center. And if we want to make this neutral brighter, we can go to the upper right-hand corner where it says more intense. So we can now mix in some gold concentrate to increase the intensity and warm it up a bit. All right, now go back to the center again. If you want to make the colors redder, you can go to the left. You can make it warm redder, or you can make it a cool redder, depending on which direction you want to go. If you want to mix in a little bit of the cool red browns, which is the 2RV or the 4RV, in with the neutral, you can make it redder but cooler red, or you can make it warmer red by mixing in your ORs. All right, go back to the center again. Now, if you want to make more of a chocolate or deeper color, not chocolate is not right, but just a deeper color, you can then go to the lower right-hand corner where it says you can create the NN series by putting in the neutral concentrates. Now, this is really important, guys, because a lot of color lines these days will have a neutral shades that they sell to you, a whole line of neutrals, and then they'll sell you another whole line of colors called the NN series. And the theory behind the NN series is that it gives you better gray coverage because it has more dye load in it, so to speak, or more concentrated dye in it. Well, Chromastics says we're not going to sell you another whole line of colors. All we say is use your neutral shades and add in some of the neutral concentrate, which we do have in the Chromastics line, to help give you, more pigmentation, which works for better gray coverage on resistant gray hair. So that's when we do that. All right. So this shows you, again, every page of the Quick Start Guide has a different base that we're working with, the neutrals and the golds and the reds and the blue violets, for example. But all these things work the same way. So it gives you a visual representation of what Tom basically wrote about in the technical manual. The only thing this does not give you are the exact proportions that you want to put in, which is really important. So that's why in the bottom here it says, for more information, see page 9 and 10 in the technical manual, because that way you have the directions of exactly how much of which one to put in. Okay? All right, Tom, we're good with that?
Yeah, you answered Mag's question because she asked about how much gold would you add. And once again, Mags, it depends upon the level of color you're using, and we do have all that technical information in the manual, in the training manual. Let's see. Let's move over here to creating. Oh, my favorite topic of all is creating long-lasting auburn shades. Now, for those of you that have been around with me for years, you know that I approach red hair color very differently than almost everyone else. And it's because creating long-lasting auburns. I approach this very differently. I always start with more red than neutral. And I don't care how much white hair there is, it's always more red in the formula than neutral. And I do not add more and more neutral according to the depth of the hair. Instead, I always add 15 grams of neutral to a color formula of red-orange, regardless of the amount of gray. It's always 15 grams of neutral, but we change the depth of the neutral. So I want to show you, um, an example, a picture of an example. David, you put your headset set on. What happened?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you without them. For some reason, it wasn't working, but now I'm good now. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Okay, so now let me move up here to the next slide, which is right here. Now look at this carefully. And look at the top line. You'll notice across, right or straight across, it's always 45 grams of 4 red orange. Every single formula has 45 grams of 4 red orange in it. But the way you deepen a color formula by deepening in auburn is not by putting more new. So now look at when you look at the 4 of these, notice that the first one has 15 grams of 8N, which is light neutral blonde, but then the one all the way to the far right has 15 grams of medium brown, 3N. But all of them are still auburn shades because 45 grams is, in fact, the red. It's a different way of thinking. Now, what happens, all hair color fades slightly, but depending upon your application, depending upon the timing, depending upon the shade, depending upon the porosity of the hair, fading is not universal. Everybody who's using chromatics now has discovered over the course of the last, well, some of you have been using it for 10 years. Some of you are brand new users. And David hopefully will attest to this in 1 second, is that when clients come back to the salon, the color fading is vastly, vastly less than it ever has been before. And it's because of a multiple of things, but primarily because the shades are not blended. The more blended a shade is, the more likely it is to go off tone and to fade strange shades. David, you want to comment?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say something here about the N series. In general, the when we're making warm reds, the N will always kind of mute the red a little bit. So it was what Tom's calls that softening. It softens the reds. All right. If in fact you don't want to soften them, but you want to keep them more intense, then a better blending color would be a gold series.
That's absolutely correct.
Right. So the N's will mute it down some, and the golds will brighten it or keep it brighter or brighten it some. All right. Also, there's a question down here. Tom says that it was Julie. She says, are the ends in equal proportions, red, yellow, and blue? And that's a falsehood. Tom, you want to explain that?
Oh, that's one of my favorite questions that I get constantly from all over the United States. And it's because every single person who went to beauty school and every single person who was taught by manufacturers for the last 30 years has been taught red, yellow, blue make brown. That's it. So red, yellow, blue do not make brown. The way that we make brown hair color in our industry is we use a single chemical that's called phenylene diamine. Now it looks like sand. It has no color to it. It just literally looks like beach sand. And we mix it with a second chemical There's more than one way to do it, but we mix it with the second chemical called resorcinol. It also looks like beach sand. But when you put the two of them together and you add developer or peroxide to it, hydrogen peroxide, they become the color brown. We don't put any red, we don't put any yellow, and we don't put any blue. It's one of those concepts that was so badly misunderstood because originally it was taught as the artist's concept of hair color, how an artist sees color. And in which case it is how it works, because if you're painting on a canvas or if you're painting a wall, you're mixing red, yellow, blue, white, and black. That's how you make all shades of color. Not in hair color chemistry. There, you do not mix red, yellow, blue together. And I wrote a big article about it, and you'll be able to find it online. If not, send me a text or excuse me, an email so I can capture your address, and then I'll mail it back to you. The explanation on red, yellow, blue. These are the auburns. Diluted with here with neutral, but also, as David was saying, with golds. Excuse me. See what's next here now. Okay, here comes one of my favorite topics, and that is creating ash shades. Now, I create ash shades very differently, and you'll notice also, for those of you that have never used Chromastics, or those of you who are new with it, there is no ash series, because I think the biggest problem with ash colors in the marketplace today is if you put an ash blonde or an ash brown on white hair, what happens? You see either violet or green or blue green or some strange shade. You never get this beautiful ash shade that you want. And it's because they've been formulated, I believe, they've been formulated incorrectly. Instead, what we do with, here is we create our ash shades by beginning with neutrals. By beginning with neutral and then creating the ash shade by adding either green, blue-green, or blue, what happens is you can put the ash shades on 100% white hair and never have that bizarre underlying tone that come through the green or the violet or whatever it is. David, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I tend to use the green concentrate, especially when I want to make in the lighter shades. You know, level 6, 7, 8. I'll tend to lean towards green to make my ash colors in Chromastics, the neutral with some green, and my lighter, more like medium blondes, lighter blondes. As I go darker with my level, I go a little bit deeper with the concentrate color, make more of a blue green. I mean, I don't use blue unless I want to do something really really dark. But that's just kind of how I see them, Tom. I tend to use the green for the lighter shades and the blue green for the deeper levels.
Oh, Christopher Denier from says, my current boss says neutral is 3 parts yellow, 2 parts red, 1 part blue. As I just said, Christopher, I understand, and that's how everybody teaches it. It's not true. If you'll turn your tube of color, you should have the ingredients either on the tube, or if not on the tube itself, you'll have the ingredients in the packaging. Go and read the packaging, and what you'll see is you won't see red, yellow, blue listed. Instead, what you'll see listed is phenylene diamine. And phenylene diamine is the way they make brown. No matter who it is, almost everybody makes it the same. The only time you mix red, yellow, blue together to create it is if you're working with direct dyes or temporary dyes. And then you do mix red, yellow, blue, but not with oxidative color.
Tom, Trey has a question here. It says, can you add blue concentrate to the gold series for an ash result?
Well, I just happen to have some dye outs that I'm going to show. A lot of very interesting dye outs. And there's reasons why you do and don't do all of these things. And I'll show you and answer those questions. But back here to the ash shades, I would like to show you starting with 4N. Now, if you look here, this is 4N. This is light neutral brown chromastics dyed on 100% white virgin hair. That's what it looks like. Now, right next to it, you can see a version that looks a little bit deeper, but also a little cooler. And that's mixed with green concentrates. And because there is a concentrate chart that tells you the amount of green that you can add to anything. And what it will tell you is that when you're working with light brown colors, and that's level 4 with chromastics, you can add up to 10 grains of concentrate and still be in the safe zone. So here what I did was I added 10 grams, 60 grams of 4N plus 10 grams of green, and you can see the result that you have here. Next, if you'll look, this is blue-green, and notice it's deeper. David just commented that if you're working with deeper shades, the brown shades, then you switch to your blue-green. But look what happens when you put straight blue in it. It turns very smoky, wipes out all warmth, and look at the depth of the color compared to the original light brown. It looks a full, solid level darker, and it is because you've added all that extra blue to the formula. And here, I don't know if you can tell it on your screens or not, but notice, even though I often tell everyone, don't add blue violet to neutrals, because look at how warm it got. It actually becomes pink, a warmish pink cast to it when you add blue violet to neutral shades. Over here on the far right, I did something a little bit different. And this is, I started once again with 4N, and I added 20 grams of XL cream. So I had 40 grams of 4N and 20 grams of XL cream. And look at how much lighter it is than the original. And here it's equal parts of 4N and XL cream. And it's much, much lighter. So back to what David was showing you on a chart, by adding XL cream to it, you keep the tone, but you get lighter and lighter and lighter the more XL cream you add. David, any comment before I move on?
Yeah, you know what? Say something. You know what's really interesting also is that because you have so much variety and so much flexibility with chromastics. For example, like in the center one here that says the 4N with the blue concentrate, and that Tom made a comment right now that actually made it one whole level darker. I mean, think about this for a second. If you had a customer that you were doing 3N on, and you were out of 3N in the salon, you use your 4N with blue concentrate and make a 3N. I mean, you know, there's just you could once you understand how to mix these colors and blend them, you can really start playing around with them and create colors that you may be out of. So it's pretty interesting how that works, I think.
That's good, David. Thank you.
Yes, Julie, they're all on white hair. All the swatches you see that Tom has done here, they're all on white hair, Julie.
Unless I tell you differently, everything is on virgin white hair. But I'm going to jump ahead on my slides and then go back because I want to show you, I think this is the correct slide. I hope it is. Nope. Yep. Okay, here. High lifts. Creating high lift shades. Now, I'm going to begin with 45 grams to 60 grams. Why would I go 45 to 60? Because sometimes people have longer hair and you need extra color. But we are always going to add, whether it's 45 or 60 grams of XL Super. Remember, this is super, so it's got 3% ammonia. We're going to add 15 grams of either 1N, 2N, 3N, or 4N to it. And then we're going to add between 60 and 75. Now, why would I jump from 60 to 75 grams? Because we're not using this, the super is becoming part of the formula. So here, if I'm using 60 grams and I add 15 grams of color, then I've got 75 grams. So I'm going to add 60, in other words, equal parts, 60 to 75 grams of 40 volume developer. Notice it does not say double developer, equal parts. Everything in Chromastics is equal parts. That's why our high lift shades are much more gentle than everyone else's. And here's an example of what happens on salt and pepper hair, 50-50 salt and pepper hair, when you do these formulas. Starting here is salt and pepper hair. It's equal parts, 50% white and 50% between a approximately medium brown. Now, everybody knows that if you use just simply straight lightning cream on salt and pepper hair, you'll always end up with really gold light results, and it's not very brassy. It's not very exciting looking. This is actually much brassier than it appears right here. But look at this formula now, going to the right. 45 grams of XL Super plus 15 grams of 1N, 2N, 3N, and 4N. And look what happens. I have, starting out with this color over here again, I've created a dark brown, a medium brown, and a light brown shade, and a dark blonde. I've created all of these shades by starting out with these up here. But when I add that the 45 grams of super and the 15 grams of neutral, the black lightened up to give me this very dark shade. The 2 lightened up, the 3 and the 4. Now notice how much lighter the 4 is. And this is because in dye chemistry, level 1 and 2 and 3 have much heavier dye loads than 4, 5, and 6. So the 4 lightens up the most. But then look what I did here. I took this same formula, 45 grams of XL Super, 15 grams of 4N, but then I added blue-green to it, and look how dark it became. It completely wiped out all the gold and the warmth that you see. Now, all 4 of these look warm. Well, mainly these 3. Why do they look warm? Because we started out with salt and pepper, and remember, we created an underlying pigment that's very gold. So consequently, all of these look warm. So you have to add either your blue-green, your green, or whatever you want to cool them down. But you determine how much ash you want to add and the depth of the ash, or the quantity of ash. David, any comment? Maybe not.
I'm just thinking, Tom. The whole concept. I think this is a very. First of all, let me tell you. First of all, this whole concept blew my mind when you first told me about it, and the whole concept of high lift shades. Because of course, guys, just keep in mind, just understand where we're coming when we're talking high lift shades here, we're not talking the level 11 series, level 12 series. We're talking about making someone who's a brunette, or in this case, salt and pepper, but basically they have brown hair, and we want to lighten them up a little bit without it becoming a screaming orange head. All right. So that's where we're coming from here. So Tom is showing you here is how by using the XL Super, which is injecting 3% ammonia, and by using XL Super in with your level 1, 2, 3, or 4N, you can get lift without exposing too much of the contributing color pigment. So therefore, even though the color is lighter in tone, it's not orange or some shade of funky red. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yes, it's perfect sense. You said it just right.
That makes sense. Okay.
Karen Snyder asked, do we ever use 45 grams of XL cream with 4BB or 6BB? Yes, that's my highlighting formula for medium and dark browns to create caramel type highlights. That's exactly how I do it. So, slide screen isn't showing. Christopher, has it come back up for you? The slides? I hope so.
I can see everything fine, Tom.
Okay. Wow, we're up to 60 people online. How nice. Now, I want to go to creating beige shades. Now, here are beige shades and how I create beige. Creating beige shades. Remember that beige is always a combination of gold and blue violet or green. However, I want to stick with just blue violet right now because these are the warmer beige shades. You use 45 grams of gold at any level, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then you add 15 grams of blue violet, and you notice it says at the appropriate level, which means if you're using a 4, you use 4 BV. If you're using a 6, you use your, you've got 4, 6, 8, and 10. You've got all 4 of them, but some of them are permanent, some of them are deposit only. It doesn't matter, you can still intermix them. And you just use at the appropriate level. And then notice what I say at the very end. If you want to create a deeper beige shade, you add gold concentrate. And here's the reason why. We only go up to level 4 gold with Chromastics hair color, but level 3 gold is simply gold concentrate, 1/2 of an ounce of gold concentrate added to, excuse me, is equal parts of gold concentrate, and 4G will give you a 3G, because remember, gold concentrate is 2G. So now what you can do is you can create 2G, 3G, 4G all by yourself, and then you can make them beige shades. If you want cool beige shades, then you use green and you add it to your gold. Now, I know that sounds funny because what have you all been taught? If you add green and gold, green to gold, which is basically yellow, you should be getting a yellow-green, but not in chemistry. Chemistry doesn't work the same way as everything else does. And in fact, what you end up with is a cool beige. Now what I'd like to do is move on to concentrates and why we have concentrates that are different than everybody else's concentrates in the industry, and the way that we use them. And then we have a lot of color examples to show you. So first of all, David, at any time hop in on this because a lot of this came from our conversations.
Okay.
First of all, they're 100% oxidative color. There's no direct dyes mixed in with them, and consequently they last much longer than other concentrates because they become part of the formula. I never thought of telling anybody this because it's just I made them, but then David pointed out to me why they were so much more effective than anybody else's, because David take over about them other ones are not really concentrates.
Yeah, because, well, when I started using Chromastics, I realized that these concentrates were different than the ones I was used to. Meaning, like, before I used Chromastics, all right, I was a Wella user. I mean, it doesn't really matter what manufacturer you use, but all other manufacturers besides Chromastics have colors that they call color additives, okay? They really don't call them color concentrates, but they call them color additives. And they're on your swatch book somewhere, and they'll be, red, and there's a red and a gold to help make your colors redder or golder, more gold. And of course, there's a blue one, and usually maybe a violet one. So those are called modifiers and intensifiers. And those in other color lines are not concentrates. And this is something that's real important to understand. What those are instead, those are color additives. And they are used to, make your reds redder or your golds golder. I mean, in theory, they're supposed to be used the same way, but here's the difference, and it's a very big difference.
Okay.
Every other color line, those additives are not oxidative dyes. Those additives are pre-oxidized dye molecules, which means that they are closer to something like Rue Fanciful Rents, okay, that you're kind of putting into the color to make the colors a little bit redder, a little bit golder. And because they're not oxidative dyes, they tend to wash away very quickly. I mean, they may temporarily, stain the hair enough to make it look redder or do the job you want, But after a few shampoos, that just washes right away, and you're left with whatever you have. You know what I'm saying? Where the concentrates in chromastics are oxidative colors, meaning that they do develop when you put peroxide on. So therefore, they are closer to a permanent color. And indeed, I mean, Tom even says that you can actually use the oxidative, the color concentrates with the developer and make a dark tint versus you don't even have to use your color in it, because they already do that. So
Yeah.
that's why they're different.
And if you notice here, David, what it says is they can be added to any brand of permanent or demi-permanent that other people, we don't call ours demi, ours are deposit only. There's a reason for that because of the alkalizer. But you can add them to anybody's hair color brand that uses oxidative tint and is developed with peroxide. They will enhance and create longer lasting colors with any professional brand. Next, they can be added to any level of hair color because there's a chart, there's a concentrate chart, which is online on the Chromastic site, and it tells you at any level. In other words, if you're using a dark blonde, here's what you can add. If you're using light brown, here's how much to add. So it keeps you in the safe zone. They can also be used, David was just talking about this, they can be used as fashion tones. You don't have to mix them in a color formula. If you want electric red or bright green or intense blue, just mix them with developer and apply them to either white or pre-lightened hair. And then they can be completely intermixed to create any sort of shade you want, but by adding clear, you can create pastels. So I want to show you a few examples of what Chromastics concentrates look like. Starting with this one. Well, actually, there's the new packaging. The concentrates now they come neutral green, gold, blue, and red. That's the new packaging. And you can purchase them off the Chromastic sites, and there's a brand new package which includes all of them plus clear. But let me show you something here. Now, this is neutral concentrate. This first one is solid. Look at how dark that is. And you would be afraid normally to put this into a color formula because look at how dark it is. It's level 2 neutral dye. But here it's mixed with equal parts of XL cream. Here it's mixed with 3 parts of XL cream and 1 part of neutral concentrate. In here it's just 4 grams mixed with 60 grams of XL cream. And you see what happens is it gets lighter, lighter, lighter. So when the color chart, when the formulated chart says, the concentrate chart says, when you're working with a 60 gram formula of 8, level 8 color, 8N, let's just say you're using 8N or 8G or 8RO, whatever it is, this is the amount of neutral concentrate you add, but this is what you're really adding to the formula because it's been lightened up because of you're only using 4 grams of this, so when it goes in, it lightens all the way up to this. It's a little confusing in the beginning to figure this out, but once you try it, you're hooked forever on concentrates. Here's the golds. Here's the green. Notice how dark the green is. And then it gets lighter, 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 lighter. This one actually, this one photoed a little strange. It looks a little blue, doesn't it? I wonder why. Red concentrate. It's lighter, 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 lighter. Down here. Blue. And then when you mix red and blue concentrates together, you make violet. And there's your violet. So you have a violet concentrate that you can add to anything you want. And here's an example. Now, each of these shows you those dark, dark concentrates lightened up with so it's been lightened up to a level, 4 grams of concentrate into 60 grams of XL cream, so that this is what would actually go into a level 8 light blonde formula. And notice up top here, neutral, gold, green, red, but here blue. But now look what happens. Blue, green. If you mix blue and green together, you can create a blue-green concentrate. And here's when your red and blue is mixed together, creates a violet concentrate. But look at this one. This is 4 grams of 2 red violet. So you can actually create a red violet concentrate by using your 2 red violet that already exists in the line. So these are all examples of 4 grams of level 2 color. They're all level 2 mixed in with 60 grams of XL cream. Got it? I know this is a lot of information.
Tom, are you saying here, just to clarify, the last one here, 2RV, this is a 2RV straight out of the tube, right? You don't have this mixed with the concentrate.
No, that's a lightened version of it. That's diluted.
This is a 2RV permanent tint with lightening cream.
But I diluted it with lightening cream, yes.
With lightening cream, okay. And that's why it's not so wine. It's more of a.
It's more of that wine color, yes. Well, you don't want violet. You want something more wine-like.
Right. Okay.
And then I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of actually adding them to color. Lisa Scott said, can these concentrates be added to Wella? Concentrates are permanent oxidative color, and all of us around the entire world use the same dyes in our hair color. So these concentrates can be added to any hair color brand, professional hair color brand, anywhere in the world. The answer, Lisa, is yes, they can. Here, what's this chart? Now, this is 60 grams of 8N plus 4 grams of concentrate. Now, here's straight 8N. Now, look what happens when I add 4 grams of neutral concentrate. It became 8N. That's how we create our double N series, by simply using neutral concentrate. Better gray coverage. This is 8N, but we added gold to it. It warmed it up, and it added a little tiny bit of extra depth because there's more pigment now. Here it is with green. Here it is. Notice I say don't put blue violet into your neutrals because they become pinky. There's a perfect example of neutral color becoming pink because you added blue violet to it. This is neutral 8N, once again 8N, but with red concentrate, 4 grams. Look at how the red takes over. The blue just really just darkens it up. It's not even, it doesn't even resemble an 8N anymore because the blue is so, and oh, this is actually blue-green, and blue makes it silver. This is a slate, and this is silver. So blue-green and blue concentrate make really wipe out all of the beautiful, soft, neutral blonde that you have here. Here is an example of, oh, that same chart. I don't know why I did that. And here's an example of 6 red orange. And here, what I did was I added 6 grams of warm concentrates so you got an idea as to what would happen. And you'll notice that here I've got 6 red orange. I added 6 grams of gold concentrate. And remember what David said earlier? Instead of adding neutral, which mutes it, the neutral softens it, or he says mutes. But here you kept the intensity of the red, but by adding the gold concentrate, you made it more of an auburny appearing shade. Look at how it changed from red-orange when you add red concentrate. The red concentrate is super concentrated. So this is the maximum. You don't have to add 6 grams. You could add less and create any shade you want. Notice what happens when you put green. When you add green concentrate, you neutralize it. You can actually see a little bit of brown has been created here. And it's pretty much a neutral brown because this is a much softer version than red-orange. Red-violet, and look at this last one here. I added 1/2 ounce, which is 15 grams of XL cream to the original 6RO, and it went up to a 7RO. because every time you add half of an ounce of XL cream to a color, it jumps one level. David, any comments?
All right. The second one from the right, it says RV. Is that 2RO mixed with RV, or is that 2RO mixed with green? What is that?
Oh, this is 6 red orange.
Yeah.
I added to this 6 grams of 2 red violet. Remember, 2 red violet. Yeah.
2 red violet tint.
Yeah, permanent 2 are.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. 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 No, that's good. That's good. All right. There's a couple questions here. People are asking where they can buy swatches at, I think. I saw something in here. Okay. Pivot Point has swatches. Tom, I don't know if you have another source for swatches.
Pivot Points sell swatches. They give you a close approximation of what it will look like on human hair, because those are not human hair. They're, I believe they're, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they're goat hair. And it comes up very similar to human hair. I buy my swatches from a manufacturer who only supplies international hair suppliers. They only supply companies. They don't sell to individuals.
Yeah, Meg says she thinks it's yak. I've always heard that they were yak. It was yak hair. That's when I worked for Wella. They bought theirs, or those yak hair for the swatches.
The ones from I think they switched to goat. I'm pretty sure they're goat now.
All right.
But yak hair gives you a false appearance. It's nowhere near the right color.
But guys, keep in mind that there's nothing wrong with, somebody comes in for a haircut, she's got nice long hair, you cutting it off, save that hair. We do it at my salon all the time. Those of you that took my last class on, when I did the class before in chromatics, you saw the swatch chart we made in my salon with all the chromatics colors. And we swatched them out on a natural level 5, and then we bleached out the level 5s to a pale yellow and put the colors on them as well. So, play with it that way yourself. If you can't buy them, or you don't want to buy them, just play with them on just real human hair from your customers.
David just said something that's very important. When he bleached out the level 5 color and took it all the way up to pale yellow, and then applied chromatics colors, permanent colors, I don't know if you did demis, but I know you did all the permanent, to all of this bleached hair. The one thing that David discovered, and nobody believes me until they do it themselves, is what, David, about not having to do to the bleached hair?
You don't have to fill the hair. You don't have to put a filler. If you bleached out hair to pale yellow and someone wants to go back to like a medium brown, hair color theory has always taught us that you have to fill the hair first. You have to go from the pale yellow bleached hair. You have to make it like a light orange, 2 levels lighter than your finished result, and then go back in with your final color to make it the brown you want. But with chromatics, not so. When I bleached out that hair and we put chromatics straight on there, you can get whatever color you want. Just in one step color corrections, basically. It was great. It was awesome. Karen Snyder here says you can put them on white cotton also. You can see the true tonal values. Thanks, Karen. You can do that as well.
What's even better, Karen, even better than cotton, is if you can go to a fabric store and get wool, and white wool, or even if it's a cream colored wool. Because wool is how we test a lot of shades, and you get almost perfect results on wool. We have these special little pieces of fabric. I don't have one in front of me, so I can't hold it up to the screen. But it has 5 different types of fabric on it, because dyes take different color according to the fabric. And wool is the one that shows you the most accurate result compared to human hair. If you put it on cotton, viscose, silk, you always get a different color result than it shows you dyes differently. And each substrate, each type of color you put it on, sometimes dramatically changes the color result. So really wool is the best. If you can get some, it would be great.
Also, I want to say, I said this earlier in the presentation, but most of you weren't on board yet, that if you go to the Chromatics On Demand Facebook page, look up Karen, okay, Karen Snyder. She's done amazing swatch outs with a lot of the concentrates, where she's really just made like a whole array of violet shades and a whole array of green shades and purple shades. I mean, they're really beautiful. And she's done a painstaking amount of work with that. So look for her in the Chromatics On Demand. Karen Snyder, look for her on that as well.
Julie just asked an interesting question. Using deposit only for tint backs, is this color straight oxidative? The answer is the Chromatics deposit only colors are 100% oxidative. The reason that they're different than everybody else's demis, as they call them, is because of the alkalizer. I do not use MEA, which is ethanolamine, in anything that I make because I don't care for ethanolamine. I believe that it does more damage, and we actually have documentation from articles we pulled off of the National Institute of Health's website, documentation that you get up to 80% more damage when you switch to non-ammonia ethanolamine or MEA from an ammonia formula. The other thing is that whenever you have a demi-permanent, you always get lightning action because you're using the same chemical that you're using in your permanent color to get lightning action, only they're using a little bit less of it. So you're still getting lightning action. With chromatics, you'll notice that the deposit only colors have as close to zero lightning action as you're ever going to find in your life.
I just want to add something to that. On Julie's statement here, what she's saying also, Tom, is she's saying using deposit only for tint backs, is this color straight oxidative? I would use a deposit only also because remember, when you're doing a tint back, what you're really doing is you're making the hair darker, and you don't need the lifting action. So therefore, you don't need the ammonia content. So you're going deeper. I would definitely say to use a deposit only color as opposed to your permanent color.
Well, the other reason also, David, is because permanent color has a pH of approximately 10.5, whereas our deposit only, I can't speak for everyone's, has a pH of approximately 8.0, which is just at the top end of neutral. It is much, much more gentle on the hair, and yet you can get 100% gray coverage with it. So there's so many things that are done. Karen says, I wish I had clients asking for those fashion shades. I think you mean fashion and not gashion. It was fun to do, but my client base, neither do mine, Karen. Mine are all professional working women. And what about Color Me by Kevin Murphy? That is ammonia free, but it is amino acid driven. I can't speak to it, Mary, unless you know something about it. I can't speak to it because I don't know how something can be amino acid driven. The alkalizer, you need an alkalizer to swell the hair that allows product to enter, that allows it to get into the hair.
I have no comment, Tom. I don't know anything about that color whatsoever. I really don't.
So I'm at a total loss about it. But it's interesting. If you have Mary, if you have a picture of the packaging ingredients, would take a look at it and see if it says ethanolamine on the ingredients. And if not, just send me a picture of it. I'd love to see what the ingredients are in it. Julie says currently using Goldwell and use all of their demi line. What in your line compares? Deposit only in chromatics. Chromatics comes as permanent color, deposit only color, which is what you would call demi, and then the third way is liquid shades, which are your toners, refreshers, and base breakers. So we have a complete line of color, except it's very, very few shades. We believe that the colorist should be in charge of everything. You should not be going to the back. My personal opinion is that when you go to the back room and you bring a box of prepared color or a tube of blended color and you put it on a client's head, you don't really know what you're putting on the hair. You only know what they tell you it is. And when it comes to corrective color, it's extremely difficult to do corrective color with blended shades because you really get a lot of strange things.
Tom, can I say something here about the demi colors? Tom just says that Chromastix has the permanent color line and the deposit only color line, which has no ammonia, and then they have the shades, the liquid shades, which are primarily toners. So there's in theory there's three different lines within Chromastix, but in reality you have four lines because I do this all the time, Tom. Mix 50% of my permanent color, Chromastix permanent color, and 50% of my deposit only color, and make an ammoniated demi color. Okay, so in other words, by mixing equal parts of permanent color and deposit only color, I'm making a hybrid color that Tom calls super glazing. So it's a demi color, but it does have some ammonia because you're mixing with a permanent color, and therefore you're able to get, in my opinion, better gray coverage. And in some instances, you can even get up to one level of lift. So I use that all the time. Tom, when I used to use Wella, I had my permanent color line, but then I had two demi colors that they made. They made one called Color Touch, which was a deposit only color, and then they had one called Midway Couture, which was a demi color. The reason I carried both those lines is because they both did something uniquely different. One only deposited, and one deposited with better gray coverage and a little bit of lift. So now I'm able to make that with Chromastix. So instead of having to buy two different demi colors, I don't have to do that. I can just make my ammoniated demi color by using the super glazing technique.
Perry, to the answer to your question, is the deposit only shades only go as dark as level 4? Yes, but by intermixing them with your gold or your neutral concentrates or your red orange, your red, you can create much deeper shades. So what you do is you add neutral or gold concentrate to them and get darker levels. If you want darker reds, you turn around and you add red concentrate or red and gold concentrate, however you want to do it. But that's how you darken them to a deeper shade. MEA, this is for Mary, Mags. Thank you, Mags. She wrote out ethanolamine, which is the way it would appear on the packaging. Also, what you'll notice is that level 1, level 1 black, even though it's permanent, it's in the permanent line, our level 1 black, it has 0 ammonia in it, because the one thing that I think is a mistake in all hair color lines is putting ammonia in black color, because you do not want lightning action with black color. That's kind of strange. You just simply want deposit only. Harry, where can I find the formulations? If you'll go to chromastix.com and go to the training manual, there is tons of formulas. There are a lot of videos. You can email me at tom@chromastix.com, and I'll give you a lot of extra information, whatever you need. We share everything at Chromastix, and we don't charge for anything because we just want you to use hair color. Can you use, Trey says, can you use glaze formulas on highlighted hair with a high percentage?
Can you use super glaze
formulas on highlighted hair with a high percentage of gray for both toning and gray coverage? There's two ways you can do it. You can use super glazing, or you can use your toners in addition of XL cream to them, because then they become so you can lighten and tone at the same time with the shades. But yes, you can with the super glaze formulas. We have now been speaking for an hour, and I know that there's lots going on, but I like to keep these seminars at just 1 hour's time. And what we're going to do is I'm going to say thank you, and remember that everything has been recorded. Well, I'm going to answer this question. Melody says, with XL cream, they become. What happens is when you put a small amount of ammonia into your shades, your liquid shades, they become base breakers, and so you can lighten the base just slightly, and you can still tone. at the same time, or you just use them straight.
Tom, when you say base breaker, you mean you can get up to one level of lift? Is that kind of more accurate, would you say?
You get up to one level of lift from them. So once again, I want to say thank you to everyone. Everything is recorded, and David and I are always available to answer questions for you. And that's it. Say thank you, David, and goodbye.
Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot, Megs. Thank you so much. Love you too, Megs. And all you guys are great for showing up this morning or today. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us, and we hope you enjoyed the program. And we'll be doing a lot more of these, by the way. So keep a lookout for our. Hi, Sean. How you doing, man? Keep a lookout for our emails coming through, because we're going to be doing a lot more of these on a regular basis. Get you guys really running with Chromastics, and just to show you the variety of things you can do with this color line, it just blows my mind. I mean, I find some of the things that Tom does, like these incredible red shades that we're looking at right now, are so phenomenal. And you know what? It just makes you better colors. You know, just really, when you really start thinking about what's going into these bowls of color, it just makes us all better at what we do. Okay, Tom. Thanks, man. Thanks you enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Bye-bye.